Go talking to the Raspberry. Oh, okay. Recording.
Yep.
The basically the command interpreter operation between the Pico and the Raspberry Pi 4. And sent that to Bill, and I got Bob Benedict's list of tasks to do done as well. And I've been bouncing back and forth with Bill on trying to get the command structure so it makes sense and actually works. So we've been flushing that out and got a couple iterations on that and working on schematic. And the switch mode power supply that my FAE recommended I get is made out of unobtainium. So I'm in fact looking for another quiet switch mode power supply that will put out 5 volts at 5 amps, because my 3 amp one now will not cut it for the solid state drive. So that's where I'm at. I'm hoping to test the A to Ds on the RF board so I can actually get that board on order, although there may be a movement of one connector for me to fit the sequencing engine onto the main control board. So that's still one other item I have to address. But then when I get that done, I can send the board out and get those made, and then move on to getting the main board made. So that's where I'm at. Other than that, I'm not doing much of anything.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Nathaniel.
Hi, how are you, John? Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Did I miss your update?
Yeah.
A little
Sorry.
recording times it should be on.
I can give you a 30-second synopsis if you want.
I would love that.
Spent the week working, creating the documents for Bill and Bob on their tasks. I fleshed out the command interpreter for Bill on the Pico, how it needs to operate and set things. We've got a diagnostic channel that I discovered we had access to another UART port on the Pico, so Bill is going to be making great use of that for both Bill and Bob's use. I created a task list for Bob. The switch mode power supply that my FAE friend at Analog Devices recommended is made out of unobtainium, so I'm working on that because I need a 5 volt 5 amp quiet switcher to handle driving the SSD drive. Once I test the digital path for the A to Ds, I should be able to send that out and start getting those boards made. And I just saw from, I think, a text from Bob that Micro Center had 11 of the Raspberry Pi 4s in stock, which tells me that the pipelines might be getting pushed. So I'm hoping that the order for the 40 I have with Mauser comes through. And I may order 10 more to make that 50. So we have extras. And I have not gotten to your request for the Grape 1 run out in case we have to do it or when we have to do it, but that's on my list of tasks to do today.
That sounds great, because I'm rebudgeting the main DAISY grant, and I'm gonna see if I can pull that money out of the main DAISY grant and not touch the new one.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a couple of K at most. So but yeah, I need to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. So yeah, but if I get a rough number and then I include it in that budget, then it won't be like so hard to find that money, and then it won't take away from what you're doing
Right.
Otherwise with the budget you already have.
Yeah, I haven't forgotten about it. I just got kind of buried again.
I totally understand.
And I took a look at the senior projects this year. There are 29 of them, and 18 of them I'm helping with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So I got a little bit going on.
Yeah, you sure do.
But other than that, I've been pretty laid back and not doing much.
Yeah, right.
What's that?
Are you going to Dayton this year?
It looks like I have a conflict and I don't think I will be able to.
Okay. Is anyone from Case going to Dayton?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I expect Matt Cannell and I will be going.
Wonderful.
I will probably be going.
Right. And you're on the hook to give some talks, Rachel. So
yes.
yeah. And yeah, that's really good. let me switch over to my main computer here. And yeah, back to you, Rachel.
Back to
Okay.
it.
I was gonna say, we kind of jumped straight into the Grape update. Does anyone have any questions for John before we move on to potential other things?
Well, the question I got from the University of Michigan, they wanted to order one.
Tell them to build
Would
Grape
you
one.
be interested in? Would you be interested in a MFJ power supply that they use for their 1, 2, 3, 4 rig Pi?
In what way? As in a finished product or
Well,
a part?
No, it's a wall wart.
Oh,
They told me when I bought the 1, 2, 3, 4 that they had to go through several different power supplies because they were noisy, and they finally settled out on one. And I forget how much it cost, but it seemed like it was either 4.5 or 5 amps.
is this 5 volts or 12 volts?
Let's see, I think the rig Pi uses 5 volts,
Yeah, that won't
but I'll
work.
have to check.
Yeah, because I have to run the Grape 2 off of 12, which was done intentionally so you could run it off a battery. So,
Okay, well, I'll have to wait till I get back home. I'm out of Kochi into Fukuoka. in
oh my gosh,
Japan.
cool.
So, yeah, we're doing this transoceanic zooming.
So is there a Doppler shift in your data stream?
I don't think so, but there's sure no WinLink availability. The closest WinLink station is in Weihai, Shandong Province, China.
Oh my
I
gosh.
haven't been able to hit him yet, although he's close. I've woken up a sail mail station down in Darawak, Australia, but I can't get a decent link with him to transfer mail. But otherwise, it's been a fun cruise.
Cool. Back to you, Rachel.
Does anyone have any other agenda items?
I do. I'd like to talk about Tapper. But first did you recognize Shaf Sarwar on the call yet?
I see him now.
Hi, everyone.
Shaf is one of my, he's a senior physics major here at the University of Scranton. I think all of you know him. So he has an announcement to make.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So I just accepted my PhD offer at Case, so I'll be joining.
Wow.
Next year. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. My gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Guess I will be seeing more of you.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Way cool.
And I hope so will the Case Amateur Radio Club.
Yeah, come look
Yes,
me up.
yeah,
I'm in the physics
absolutely.
lab.
Absolutely.
When will you be coming to Cleveland?
I will be coming to Cleveland in August, I believe. Yes.
Well, keep us posted.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good. And welcome to my hometown.
Definitely look
Great.
me up.
And tell them what
Really
you're
excited
planning on working on.
Sorry, what?
Tell them what you're planning on working on.
Yes. So I will be joining the physics department, and I am working probably either with Dr. John Rule or Johanna Nagy. She's also joining next year, I believe. And we will probably be working on cosmic microwave background experimental stuff. So very excited about that.
Yeah, and you should be. Good. Maybe you can drag the physics department into the radio club. We've been working on that for a long time.
Yeah, we're going to kidnap you.
Well, I think there's a strong tie there. I mean, cosmic microwave background radiation. If that's not a tie to the between the physics department and the radio club, I don't know what is.
Yeah, tell them that.
I was gonna say, considering physics
Well-
trips for POTA activations in the past. I think that's already been done.
I have Shaf's number, so we can
Yes, sure. Absolutely. Now I'm very happy and very excited to join Case. Dr. Fazell told me next year HAMSci will be happening at Case. So this is also very exciting.
Yes.
Yes.
I also asked Shaf if he might consider joining the local organizing committee and helping you do with the logistics for the ham site workshop and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I enjoyed that a lot. So for sure.
Oh, perfect. You
Yeah.
already signed up.
So I think that's awesome, Shop.
No, thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's fantastic news.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited for you. I'm looking forward to meeting with you and working with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, so where are you going to live your first year?
That's a very good question. I have no idea yet. So this is still in the works. Trying to find apartments, stuff like that. So once I do that, I'll keep you posted on that. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of off-campus
Yes,
apartments
yes.
around here, so you shouldn't have too much trouble. It's
Mhm.
usually
I have
state-
talked to a few grad students and they tell me it's usually off campus. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, if you have questions for me, I think I gave you my email.
Yes, I do have your email. I'm really sorry I did not meet you guys.
No,
over
you're good.
It
You're
was
I
You're
made
good.
total
grad
chaos.
students living
So,
my questions.
yeah, sure. I will contact you if I need anything. Thank you so much.
The only other update I have for Grape is I've made the decision that the center frequency, instead of being at the kilohertz, I'm moving it down to 500 hertz for the conversion, because it's the more of the sweet spot for the whole radio system. So
You're
That's it.
down to 500 hertz?
yeah, 500 hertz.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Because that'll make it easier that'll reduce the bandwidth requirement, right?
It will, but it doesn't. The analog filters all would have to be changed to reflect that. Right now they're set up and they tend to peak right around 600.
I see.
So
It's actually, this is a better fit for the current filter design.
yes.
That makes sense.
Will the filter design be tweaked for that IF, or is that close enough?
The design for the Grape 1, that's just the same basic film. The filters are a little different. They've been tweaked.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it probably would work just fine, but the Grape 1 is all programmed for a kilohertz. That's what all the scripts I wrote for setting up the Leo Bodnar are set up to
Mhm.
put that at a kilohertz. And all the frequencies are already pre-programmed in there for all the radio stations, even the ones outside of it. So it's ready to go. So when you get a Grape 1.12, you can run the 15 megahertz WWB straight off and it works, because I did it on my station at home. And interestingly enough, if you've looked at the Doppler shift for the 10 megahertz plots, it has that kind of steady slope in the Doppler shift. 15 megahertz exhibits the same thing. 5 does not. So it's something about the reflective height, and I'm thinking how long the sun is hitting it as the Earth is rotating is causing the constant Doppler shift, because it's constantly exciting and whatever. So I suspect that the 10 megahertz and 15 megahertz reflection points are higher in the ionosphere than the 5.
Yeah, I would expect that.
Which I think makes sense. Which would, I think, would explain why we're seeing that. But the 15 megahertz has that characteristic fingerprint of a constant Doppler shift over the day. So I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And my node data for that is up on the server if anybody wants to look at it. The day after ham size when I started it, so it's been running for a while.
I know my Grape is currently down, and so is my chirp sounder receiver.
Oh
And it's
no!
Yeah, well, they're working fine. It's the antenna system that has gone haywire. And I had switched, one antenna went bad, and then I switched to my backup antenna, and then we had a windstorm and the feed line broke. So my 2 antennas. So I'm hoping this weekend I can dust off my soldering gun and go out there with the antenna analyzer and
Fix it.
try and address the situation. But yeah, my Kiwi SDR, my Grape, they're all.
Did you ever use that
down.
4-channel distribution amp I sent you?
No, I'm sorry. I know. I'm like.
Somebody at the Scranton asked me about one of those.
Mm.
And I didn't have any
We're-
more built up, but
We're working on improving. So as you probably know, I've turned into more of an administrative sort of person. I do still do my like own data analysis or a lot of my own data analysis, but I'm constantly like, teaching classes and managing budgets and things like that.
it's called a
it's like
day job.
Yeah, my time to actually do the hands-on stuff is ridiculously small. But we are actively doing things to try to get more hands-on people doing hands-on things here. So I think our laboratory, our version of John Majid, he's going to officially be joining the Tangerine SDR project for the remainder of the year. So as soon as I get this budget worked out, we'll have him on as like a very engaged person. And then I think he'll also be able to be working with some additional students doing some hands-on things. So I'm very excited about that.
Feel free to reference me if he wants to talk to me.
That sounds, I definitely will. I'm hoping that we can get Majid, Majid is extremely good with the hands-on stuff. And and what's nice is he's going to be a long-term person here, or he is a long-term person here. And I think having him engaged in the projects is really going to help us out. So as I said, he's kind of like our John. So I'm really excited to have him start working here.
See, I think I sent one of my preamps to it was Bill. Did you ever end up using that preamp, Bill?
This bill?
No, Bill Engelke.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's running right now.
Oh, good. Because I'm using mine for all of my grapes off of the mag loop, so it works quite well.
It does, yeah.
Good, because that's basically the front end preamp for all of the radios in the Grape 2.
Can we talk a little bit about Tapper for a second?
Yes, that was next on the agenda. If you have nothing else on hand, mention things, or we can do that after.
We can do that later.
Okay. Tapper it is.
Tapper. Okay. So I think Tapper, there's not going to be an in-person Tapper DCC this year. So I was talking to Dave Larson last night, and so he said there's not going to be an in-person Tapper DCC this year. And I think a number of the leadership people in Tapper are either, they're overwhelmed, or they've been doing it for years and they're ready to pass the torch on. So I know Scotty has been he's been tremendously overwhelmed with the process of selling his house and trying to build a new one, and he's the current Tapper president. And then Steve Bible is Tapper president for years, but he's ready to pass the torch on, and a number of other people have various things. And I think it's really unfortunate that Tapper's not having a DCC this year. And I really think Tapper has a tremendous legacy, being that they developed the TNC2, and they've had the Tapper DCC for like 40 years. And I think they're extremely complementary to HamSci in that they really represent more of the engineering aspect of the hobby, whereas HamSci really represents more of the scientific, the scientific quest. And so I think I really would like to see Tapper continue to be strong in the future, and to, really have some real vitality there. And I think we need to identify some people who could step into some leadership roles there and really try to help kick things up a notch over on the Tapper side. And I was thinking about some of those people, and I thought some of those people might be on this call, or people on this call might know some people who would want to step into some of these roles with Tapper. So for instance, like, John, you were just saying that you're advising all these senior projects for the Case Club. And I know David Kasdan, you're extremely, prolific in coming up with interesting ideas and things. And not all of those ideas, I think, necessarily fit directly under the HamSci umbrella for addressing scientific questions right away. But I think they're really interesting, and I think it'd be really good to see some of those showcased in a bigger sense. So I was wondering if there might be some people from the case side who might be interested in stepping into some of these leadership roles in Tapper, or providing some more life for, and also just the general people on here, if there are people who are really interested in doing more engineering type of work, maybe they'd consider helping out Tapper in different ways.
If I had the bandwidth, I'd be interested.
And
Yeah.
not all of my ideas have much merit. I appreciate the thought, Nathaniel.
I wouldn't say that, David.
Well, but the thing is, David, I think a lot of your ideas, I think they do have merit.
I'm
they have
making
merit.
a joke. I appreciate
Yeah.
your kind
No,
words.
I really do. I know I know I don't have time to answer all of your emails or but I really do. I think they have merit on a lot of different levels, because some of them, I think the coherent CW idea is really interesting. I think we can get from a science perspective, I think we can get some interesting timing out of it. We've talked about developing modes that from a science perspective would support both communication and could have some interesting applications. Like if we had a communications mode that could simultaneously allow you to communicate and also say, oh, based on the time of flight and these other characteristics, we believe you were doing the an F2 E-hop mode or something like that. If your radio could just tell you that, that would be really cool. And
I'll tell you what, I have a meeting coming up with NIST Time and Frequency. Want to see if we can coax any support out of them, or a conference perhaps on, make it more specialized or have a theme, metrology in amateur radio.
But I think this is where actually I guess there's a couple of points here. One is, so I think one way to support Tapper is to take some of these novel thing ideas and see if they might be able to be produced and put in the Tapper store. And some of them could actually be useful things. And some of them could just be I was at our Murgus Amateur Radio Club yesterday. We're looking for new kits and things to do, just to get people to know how to solder, know how circuits work. And, Tapper, this would be, I think a lot of your projects might be good fits for that. And if you put them in through Tapper, then you immediately have a bigger technical audience of people who would, be interested in doing these things. And even if you wanted to, if Tapper didn't want to handle all of the logistics of the production and stuff, Tim Duffy has many times said DX Engineering is willing to help with production and distribution and manufacturing. So if we're able to use Tapper as a way to come up with the ideas, and Tapper and Hamsci to come up with the ideas for these products, there's probably a way that we can get them out to the amateur community in a way that, we can continue doing the interesting kind of development stuff.
Yeah,
so that's one thing.
I've had a conversation with Scotty already about taking my Grape 2 data engine, taking the 3 radios off, putting a 4th ADD on it, and having a GPS disciplined, synchronized 4-channel 16-bit data acquisition system. We got all excited about it. So that would not be much of a step in any other direction once I get this Grape 2 off my back to do that.
But
Dave and I were just having a conversation about having a 4-channel or 8-channel radio that samples just the first 20 or 25 milliseconds of all of the WWV stations simultaneously, and get the second tick propagation stuff in real time for all 6 radio stations.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we're bouncing around ideas on. So Dave does have good ideas.
He has lots of good ideas.
Yes, he does.
But I think if we can, so the other thing with Tapper is I really like the idea of having the Hamsci workshop and the Tapper workshop 6 months apart. And I really don't want to run 2 conferences. So it's always nice going to a conference run by a different organization. I can just attend, not run. But I think what might be cool is if we could identify someone if we could get Tapper to kind of rethink their conference, revitalize themselves. It would also be really cool to have it so that both the Tapper and the Hamsci workshop move around, and every year they're on kind of opposite sides of the country. So it's in in the spring if ham size in the East Coast, in the fall tappers in the West Coast, or vice versa. Because I think, you know, right now ham side tends to be very East Coast centric because that's where we're all located. But I think there's good stuff happening on the West Coast too. And this might be a good opportunity to kind of spread things out a bit.
Nathaniel, what about tagging along with IEEE Microwave? They sort of used to be IEEE's ham club. I haven't heard much about it for a while.
That's a really good idea. I know I've never been to you're talking about like that microwave update, the mud.
Well, it was the IEEE Microwave Society in their annual meeting.
Yeah. How so I do know a lot of people are what do you call it? I know a number of hams who are very interested in that and say a lot about that conference. So I think that's really interesting. What do microwave update people or microwave society people think about people who hang out in the HF and VLF bands all day long?
I think they were perfectly fine by it. And the current ARRL president is a former president of IEEE. So perhaps that's worth a letter.
Yeah. But I think that would be really interesting. I guess I'd like to see Tapper not just survive, but really like do really well. And I guess I'm trying to think about ways to do that. And certainly teaming up with IEEE is definitely a possibility. I think one of the things that's kind of special about Tapper is the way like Hamsci aims to be like citizen science. Tapper, I feel like, is citizen engineering. You know, and so it actually is like it seems like an engineering club, people who want to show up and not necessarily for a commercial purpose. I mean, possibly, but it seems like a place where you can go and kind of get your feet wet. And we always hear about, I get a lot of feedback about people wanting to have kind of an on-ramp to learning engineering and learning these sorts of things. And, I think Tapper can really help to address that while also supporting, some of these more advanced projects.
Agreed all around. I will put as a challenge to the group then. John has just put together his first samples of what we call board 0. This one's board 0.1. This is a microcontroller based high precision data collection device, accurate analog to digital and accurate GPS controlled timing. It's the core of the Coherent CW and other projects. Ponder what you might do with it here.
It's based on a Raspberry Pi Pico, and the footprint is identically the same size as the Pico. And then the GPS board we bought was like, I want to say it was $14.
Yeah, so it'll slip inside a QRP rig. It's tiny.
Yeah.
And it's in the spirit of the Tapper product. So we'll provide specs. Let's see what the group can come up with to do with it.
Yeah. I think my guess is it's really good that you're going to a Hamvention, David, because my guess is, there's the other Dave with the board 0.
Yep, that's a board 0. Yep.
The Hamsci booth is supposed to be right next to the Tapper booth again this year. And my guess is John Ackerman at least will be personing the Tapper booth. And John's on the Tapper board. And so there'd probably be a lot of opportunity to have some very fruitful conversations with John Ackerman, who of course greatly appreciates accurate timing and these sorts of things. And it seems like many, if not most, of the products in the Tapper store right now are John's. So John Ackerman's.
I hope to change that.
Yes. Well, they'll still all be John's, right?
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I think that's correct. He must have taken over their product line essentially about 20 years ago. They started with packet TNCs.
Right. So I think, this would be a really neat place to kind of, offer some of these more technical and avant-garde pieces of amateur radio gear that you're not really going to go out to the major manufacturers and find, but really kind of fit niche market. And if we can provide some kits, like one of the things I love about the Grape One is that people can actually build it with their own two hands, because a lot of people actually want to be able to build a kit. They don't want to just buy a pre-made board. And so I think having some projects there that can be kits and have an educational thing, because as I know Jonathan Rizzo, he and I were both at the Murgas Amateur Radio Club meeting last night, and Jonathan Rizzo's taking up the charge to try to resurrect kit building nights for the club. And so he's looking at different sorts of kits that the club might be able to group to build. Yeah, I'm not sure if AMRAD is still active. I think I was actually a member of it for a brief period of time.
Yeah, I used to go to their meetings in the mid 80s when I lived in Washington, but I haven't heard anything about them for a long time. They were very good.
Yeah.
Haven't either.
We had a meeting in 2019, so.
That's the nearest I see. Let's see if they show up at Dayton. And before Dayton, does anybody know about 4 days in May?
I'm aware of it. I'm not. That's like a side conference outside of the Hamvention, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay, Bob, go ahead.
You're muted, Bob, or your audio's not working. Nope, not yet. You don't have an audio path. Bummer.
All right, let me say a few words. I didn't know about this one until 6 weeks ago or so. It's a couple day long meeting that feathers with HamSci. It's held in a hotel outside of Dayton, about half an hour away from Xenia. It's specifically about QRP operation. Apparently it's very good, and some people go to that and don't bother going to Hamvention. There is a conference Thursday, so the day before Hamvention starts, on Coherent CW. Matt and I are going to leave a day early to attend that. I gather these are also skilled amateur engineers and scientists, and I will report back.
That sounds great, David.
Bob, do you at least want to write a chat if you're familiar with the group? Okay, maybe continue then.
How about sending Morse code?
You won't get it, John.
I won't get it though, yeah.
I see Dylan is on the line here, KN6IVW.
Someone said my name. I came.
I did.
You just volunteered for everything.
Are you
What
coming
did
to
I
the
volunteer for?
Are you coming to Hamvention, Dylan?
I'm planning on it.
Great.
I want to.
Good. I think you're giving a talk at the Tapper Forum.
Yes.
Great.
Ooh.
Were you have you thought about what you're going to say yet?
Well, he wanted me. He already had a topic that he wanted me to talk on, which was manufacturing and all the processes for that. So I'm haven't done anything yet, but
yeah,
I need to, and I will.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to be talking about the different processing for manufacturing sub things, so then you can do some more intricate detailing for your products. So then, for example, like if you had a case for a device and you needed to have a grounding spot on the case, then you could, and you wanted to do it cheaply, you could do a 3D printed case and then electroplate it, or however the process, whichever process you use, because there are processes where you can use a non-conductive material and electroplate it. So not electroplate it, it's different, but put a metal surface on it, plate it with metal. So, and basically use that, have a metal case while the inside is a metal plated case, so that you can have a grounding surface. So there's a lot of different things that I'll be able to talk about. So
That sounds great.
at least John thinks it's going to be great, since he said he hasn't heard anyone else talk about it. So I'm kind of excited.
Is John Ackerman invited?
Yes.
That's
Or no, sorry, I said the wrong name. Scotty.
Scotty.
It was
Okay.
Scotty. Yeah.
Scotty. That's really good. Did you I was talking, I know about this because I was talking to Dave Larson a bit last night, and were you planning on giving it live or recording it and playing the recording? Are you there, Dylan?
Yeah, my Wi-Fi just cut out. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's okay. I was saying, Dave Larson was talking to me about your talk last night, and he was saying you might be thinking about recording it rather than giving it live.
Either way, I was just saying to Scotty that if I can't make it and I'm not able to go there in person, I can record it, but I would personally rather be there in person.
Okay, yeah, I think we would too. I think that message got miscommunicated to Dave Larson, and he thought you were just planning on doing a recording and being like, it was kind of funny. But yeah, no, I think that's a really good plan.
Yeah, the whole recording thing is nice and all. You don't have to go there in person, but this is my first convention, of course. I want to be able to go there in person, but that.
Oh, I totally agree with you. I think that is absolutely the way I'd recommend doing it.
So I'm pretty excited for this. So the crazy part about this is I've actually been to the fairgrounds where they host the convention, and I never even knew it. In I think it's Xenia, Ohio, however they pronounce that. We were stuck there for a night, and we stayed in the fairgrounds grounds. So
that's really
I found out it's in Xenia. So, and then who was it? So someone said to think about that with, I think he said like 30,000 people, or however 3,000. I'm not sure.
It's usually 30,000. Back in the heyday, convention was over 75,000.
So it was 30,000. So yeah, I thought it was John, but I couldn't remember. So that means I already told you guys this. Never mind.
Hey, Dylan, is the Wikipedia article that I put into chat, is that along the lines of what you're talking about for the metal deposition?
Let me see. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be really cute to resuscitate that as a way of making antennas and stuff.
Yes, that I would have to look into that, which is kind of interesting. But yes, you could do that. Electrotyping. So yeah, I just heard about the electrotyping from a I'm not sure if you guys heard of him, but Styropyro on YouTube. He's done a lot of things with lasers and messed around with a lot of that stuff, but now he's getting into the more chemistry side of things, and he talked about electrotyping. So I thought that was interesting. And then, but the main one today is electroplating, where you actually have a somewhat conductive surface. And they do have, if you were to 3D print it, they do have conductive 3D print material. And then you would just hook it up to, I think it's the positive lead, and then you stick it down into a vat of little granulized whatever you want to put on there, and it sucks the material to it, and I think it works pretty darn good. I think it's pretty cool too.
That all sounds great.
So I definitely have plenty to talk about. I know that for sure.
That sounds really good.
If we're running out of things, could I ask a slightly non-related, non-appropriate question for this group?
Is there any other relevant business? If so, or if not, go ahead.
I am planning my magnetometer setup, which I got a week or so ago. And I may have know them coming, because after I got this one, I got a notification from Tapper that they had shipped it. Anyway, the place I would like to position it, which is away from everything metal, requires about a 250-foot Cat 5 cable between the two. Is that doable? Has anybody used one that long?
I think that should be fine. Mine is about a 300-foot run.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Because with a 100-foot run, I'm right at the end of my neighbor's driveway. With a 200-foot run, I'm right by his tool shed. So I got another 50 feet to get away from that.
I think that should be just fine. One thing you can do to test it is you could connectorize the cable first, and you can just run it in the coil, have the cable coiled up, and if it works that way.
Right.
But I don't think it'll be a problem.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll plan on that then.
Yeah, the issue is the IR drop in the water for the power supplies. And the way I know I'm running the magnetometer on the Grape 2, I'm using 2 wires for ground and 2 wires for the plus supply. So, because they had one of the wires that used to be an interrupt that they ended up not using. So you can actually have that in. There is a regulator on the board, if I remember right. I don't remember, but anyway, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, so my run is 275 feet.
Okay, that's good to know. I will proceed in that direction then. Thank you.
Great.
I thought Cat 5
another
cable was certified for 100 meters.
What was that again, John?
I thought that Cat 5 cable was certified for 100 meters.
Yeah, but the other thing, John, is we're not actually using it for an Ethernet connection.
Right, Ethernet is.
Right. It's its own signaling and power protocol, and it just happens to be that's the type of cable we're using.
Well, another thing you can do is you can use shielded Cat 6, and that will also protect you against any RF intrusion. If you have a ham radio equipment that transmits in the area, it's good to use something shielded. That's what I do in mine, and I've been able to survive even kilowatt within the area, and it doesn't disturb the magnetometer.
Good. I am planning on shielded.
Mm-hmm.
And did you say you put on your own connector outside I was gonna buy one pre-connectorized if I can because of, I was concerned about getting good weatherproof, connection outside.
I did my own connectors because we were running it through, I ran a number of cables through a conduit, and there was no way, we had to run that through unconnectorized to
Right.
do the conduit pull.
I'm
Here's
planning
my-
on, I'm not planning on a conduit. I'm gonna lay it in some pine straw around the edges of my property.
Google Earth has kindly taken a photograph of my house where you can see the trench. So here's my house over here. And so here's that's where the ham shack is, this little part here. And then that's where the magnetometer is. So you can see like 270 feet.
Okay, yeah.
So like, and yeah, it's all pretty fairly remote. So I can give one other update. And this, Rachel is probably going to be interested in this one. I've done the calculations for the eclipses, not the ionosphere calculations, just the obscuration calculations at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different altitudes for both the maybe 10 different altitudes for both the 2023 and 2024 eclipses. And I'm working on getting them posted to Zenodo. And that is about a 50 gigabyte data set. And I'm going to then pass that off to Joe Huba, and he's supposed to do the ionospheric calculations with SAMI 3. So hopefully this will be in a format he can use. I think he'll find this useful, but I'm hoping to get this posted to Zenodo today.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns, updates?
I have a quick.
Say again?
Is there someone else?
I have a question.
Okay, let's start with Rob.
Hang on a second.
Are there two? Wait a second.
Mute
Okay.
one of Rob's.
Yeah, we got two Robs on the channel and they're
Well, I
echoing.
know, but do both Robs have a question? I only saw one Rob.
Sounds like he has two questions.
I had a question, but Rob can go first.
Okay. AI6VN.
Yes, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
I was wondering, I was trying to help on the Kauai Grape project deployment. I wonder if anybody here is involved in that. I was trying to help to find a location. Somebody would host a Grape receiver to monitor WWVH.
Hi, Rob. I'm involved in that. We've chatted just a little bit.
Yeah. Is there any action items there? I'm starting to plan a trip to Maui, and I could go through Kauai if it were helpful.
I have not communicated with Christina about it, and there are a lot of questions I had for the group. I think you saw or were copied on the email that I had sent out with regard to how we want to approach it. But I think I just need to write a letter to the Waimea High School and approach the administration there and CC the members of this who I can identify as science people and go directly to them and ask them.
I kind of tried that. I contacted the head of their technology, and she forwarded me my email to she said, contact this person. I sent an email to him, and he was a science teacher, and I didn't get a response. I did mention Hamsai in those emails, but I think someone, I'm just a random person.
You can
So maybe
also,
we-
you can also mention we're an official NASA citizen science project and we're NSF funded. So
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind, yeah.
What? Okay. No, I probably should get to my thing. Oh, sorry.
Dylan,
Well,
do
Rob,
you-
I just wanted to comment. Thank you for doing that and for reaching out and trying to use your Kauai connections. And I still think if there are some hams on the island, that would be a good way to go as well.
I tried that one too. I have my Maui SDR is used pretty heavily by the
Right.
Hawaii ham groups, and the guy who runs the Hawaiian ham site is called 4D Net or something. He posted up and referred me to the heads of the Kauai. And so I emailed them and they forwarded the email to their membership, and I got no responses. So I think my experience in Hawaii is that it really helps to have personal connections there.
Well, that's what I was hoping you could
And,
help us. Yeah.
yeah, and so those are pretty distant connections. I don't. I'm trying to think who other personal paths. I have a friend whose family lives there, but none of them are hams. He's a ham actually, but his wife's family are not. So I could push on that one. But I really think having an institution would be better than trying to do it with individuals, especially ones who are unmotivated, really don't have any interest in this topic.
Well, there's some questions. Do we need to set this up permanently? Is this something that needs to be there for more than just getting initial recordings? This is a discussion I think the group's going to have in a couple of weeks on our meeting on April 25th with the modulation group. But also working with you had brought up the station staff. Why couldn't the radio be located potentially right at the station? Aside from RF being really high at that spot, that would be the biggest obstacle. Also, I don't know if they actually have great internet there. So this is a discussion, like I said, I'm hoping that Christina and I can have it, and maybe you can get in on it as well. And I know that Aiden was interested in it from Boulder and from NIST being involved in talking about this as well. So it's beyond the scope of this group actually, but it overlaps with a lot of people. So thanks for bringing it up, and I'll be in touch with you by email, and we can visit a little bit more about this.
Okay. The other topic I just wanted to say at the workshop, there was some discussion about setting up kiwis at the CMU website for monitoring. I didn't know who. I've kind of forgot who that was, but I'm happy to help with. I monitor and maintain and assist 24 or more Kiwi receive sites, so I'm quite well informed about it. I guess nobody who was involved with that Kiwi site in Cleveland is on.
That would be Christina, and I don't think she's on here right now.
Okay.
Right, I think she's on vacation through the 18th or something like that. John, the Kiwi that was sent to Kauai, who does that belong to?
Belongs to Case, I believe. Yeah, we bought it.
I think Scranton actually bought it.
Oh, wait a minute. That's the one you sent me, and I modified it with the GPS.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that it really.
No, I'm just trying to remember how that happened.
Yeah. No, I think I bought it with the Scranton grant, and then I sent it to you, and you modified it and sent it down there.
Right.
Not to beat this topic into the ground, but I have a quick question though. Would it make sense can we get another Kiwi? I know that they're not making them anymore, but is there a way?
No, they're out of production.
Do you have an inside way to get another Kiwi?
Well, I have a private network of Kiwis that I
understand that, yeah.
But it's you know, I have, you know, they're all kind of dedicated to science projects right now, so they're hard to get. One of my big projects among the Whisper Demon group, is to find a successor to the Kiwi, because it's out, since it's out of production, and we're now bumping up against a number of the limits of the Kiwi. So we're looking for a successor, something that has this same or better specifications for our needs.
I think
I mean, it depends upon what the application is. I might look in my group of people that have, you know, I myself running maybe 24 Kiwis at different sites. So sometimes they could free them up. I mean, there's one out at KPH that's hardly used. In fact, it's completely unused.
So the only reason I bring that up is it would be, you know, you're right, the Kiwi's out of production. And so maybe what would be really good is to get you involved with the modulation group and being able to advise them on what the successor should be to the Kiwi for doing the modulation study that's been going on. The goal is to get a good recording of the Kauai, transmitter, so that they can characterize the transmitters. And I don't know if we need to be there. Can we go there for a week, take a vacation to Hawaii, get the recordings and call it good? I don't know.
That'd be easy. I have a portable Kiwi, battery powered Kiwi that I carry around with a little active antenna that I use for diagnosing the receive sites. So I could stop in Kauai and make a day or two long recording from a location down there on the south coast, line of sight. If that's what all you want.
Well, I don't know if that's all we want or not, because I think the advantage, we had the Kiwi that was here in Colorado, Glenn Elmore's Kiwi, and he gave us access to it, and Bill Lyles was the one that did most of the recordings, and it was convenient for him then, if it was on the internet, that he could do it at his convenience and make the changes that he wanted to in the recordings. So if we're able to coordinate with you, and if we can look at the timeline and it works out well, maybe you could at least get some initial recordings. So we'll talk about this over the next.
Not a long-term recording, then I could stop and, you know, I can do a triangle trip to Maui and go through Kauai. I haven't been there for years.
I wish Christina, because she's the one that's coordinating everything. So John, what is your and Nathaniel? Do you have any input on this modulation?
Because I know we ran into a brick wall because of the internet connection. We have one up there. The radio works. It just we couldn't get to it on a reliable internet connection, and that really was the block that we ran into.
Where is this Kiwi that you have difficulty?
Right now, it's at the
WWVH.
Yeah, Dean has it, I believe.
What about if not a high school? What about a community college or something like that down there? Are there any community colleges?
College is on the other side of the island. The Waimea High School is only 6 miles away. It would be a better ground wave. But the community school is on the east side of the island. So it's a little
how many
away.
When you say so, how far away is the east side of the island? I have no
it's around the side of a mountain, though.
Well,
yeah,
okay, but I mean, but is it like how many
kilometers?
40 kilometers? It's like 20 miles? Because
yep.
Well, so I mean, you may still be able to get cited at the high school, but the community college may have ties to the high school, and it may be, if you're having trouble getting that like connection to getting a response from the high school, maybe you can go to the college. You might be able to get them interested in doing the science project, and then they probably want to use the high school as like a feeder into their community college. So this may be a way that the community college can run an experiment on the high school property while interacting with the high school students.
I think that's a really good idea. Looking at the curriculum and how they've got things aligned, most of what the education on the island is centered on keeping people employed on the island, and there's not a lot of science that goes on. So their science curriculum is minimal. And so it would be interesting to see what that connection would be with the community college. They certainly have a pathway for the workforce between the high school to the community college to the island. And you know, rightly so. If people are going to live on the island, they have to have a job on the island. So
yeah, I know that you know, K through 12 education is, you know, highly regulated, and the curricula are very tight. So trying to break into there is very difficult. But, you know, higher education has a lot more flexibility, where professors who have particular interests, or, you know, can go pursue those things, or they're often more motivated to go be a part of research projects that are, you know, have kind of a bigger reach, because it increases prestige for the institution. So that might be a reason that the community college might be interested in participating. And you know, if the high school doesn't have to, you know, spend their, you know, bandwidth managing the thing and trying to figure out how to integrate in the curriculum, but they have, you know, someone from the community college kind of form a partnership, that might work out well.
I think it's worth
Here's just an off the wall. It's just an off the wall type of thing, but there's WH6 Quebec. Memphis Jim lives in Maui, and he's also very active with the Battleship Missouri Radio Club. And he might be someone to try to contact, because he's pretty involved with ham radio over there.
he's actually only like 2 kilometers away from WWVH, or 4 kilometers, I think. He's a little closer than the high school. But I did write to him, it's been 4 months ago or so, and I didn't get a response, kind of like what Rob ran into. Put the feeler out there, but didn't get any response. I could reach out to him again and look into it. What I think also might be is, if we want something permanently stationed there, to maybe find out who the internet service provider is on the island, and just put it someplace close to the internet, and potentially they would help us, you know, go to a commercial company if they would locate it. In all honesty, we don't want it located at an active hams location, because they're broadcasting all the time. So that would be a bit of a problem, I think.
Yeah, my experience is you really want to have somebody who's somebody who will maintain the site, because inevitably something is going to break, and you need somebody to go out and power. I mean, in the case of Kiwis, my classic problem is power outage. It comes back from a power outage, and the Kiwi doesn't come power back up because of the ramp up time problems with the Kiwi. If you don't ramp up the DC within 50 milliseconds, okay, when on the power line, when the power comes on, if the power doesn't go to 5 volts, from 0 to 5 volts in 50 milliseconds, the Kiwi host board doesn't turn itself on. So that's an example of it. One really painful example of how you have to have somebody there to maintain it, or you need to. And I, in fact, have designed, written a script and found relay control boards to get around that problem at remote sites, so that I can. I have a Kiwi watchdog that I actually posted up the code on GitHub for a Kiwi watchdog that talks to a web-controlled relay board, just for that problem. Is that remote Kiwis you can't depend upon them coming back online after power outages. So that's an example of the reason why you either have to have a fairly complicated installation, remote Kiwi installation, or you need to have somebody locally who would maintain it.
I'll just mention in we've had situations like that where we use back in the days of serial ports, would use one of the control lines to cycle a power relay.
Yeah, well, I found you can buy from China an 8 relay web controlled, Ethernet jack with a little controller on it, and I use the relays to control the 5-volt lines going into the Kiwis. So the relay board always comes up and gets on the LAN. And with that, then I can talk to that relay board and cycle the physical relays and turn on the 5-volt lines. And going farther, this has to do with, there's all kinds of issues. I don't think you want me to go deeply into it, but if you have problems with your Kiwis, I've been working with them now for 5 years and I've got dozens.
Yeah, that's true. We've used the Ethernet ones as well. But anyway, the other point what made is a good one, that you actually don't want it to be at a ham site. You want someone that's SWL, so to speak.
If I can jump in, I have to go in a minute because Veronica just got here. We're gonna be talking about Grape traveling ionospheric disturbances. But I just put a link to the Kauai Community College, University of Hawaii Community College website in the chat. They do have a concentration in engineering and physical sciences. So I think this would fit in with both of those. It'd be a great on-ramp project for them. And another way that you could potentially, reach out to them is that might really get their interest is the NSF has a number of programs, grant programs specifically for working with minority serving institutions and kind of underrepresented, universities. And so I could see a mechanism where we could do a joint proposal to kind of help fund their program and, get them some student involvement and things like that. And I think that would, and then it would benefit us too, because it'd be like a collaborative sort of project. And, obviously that's not something we'd be able to do immediately, but, it's something that we could certainly write up and develop, and then we could turn into a more formal long-term project, which makes a lot of sense considering WWVH is right on the island. So there's a really compelling reason to, connect with that particular site.
And there's some job openings there now too.
Right, exactly. So it's a nice loop that, so I think I'd recommend reaching out to the community college. If you want, I can send an introductory email from my University of Scranton email address to their professor down there, and then connect them with you and see if we can get a response that way.
I think having your clout would be really important. So
Okay.
Let's work on that. At their electronics technology, and it's mainly oriented at computer networking. Also looking at the same thing with the installation maintenance technology area of their under electronics. So I think there's a natural science concentration in engineering and also a concentration in physical sciences that might be actually an interesting approach.
Yeah, I think that's one last thing about Jim over in Maui. When I was over there in December at Christmas time, he was laid up with COVID, so I didn't get a chance to see him or get a free trip on the battleship Missouri. So he's probably over it, I hope. So you might want to go ahead and try to contact him again.
I will go ahead and do that. And thank you, John, for the input.
Before I go, Veronica's here. Say hi, Veronica.
Hello.
See if the owl picks you up. Keep talking.
Hi. Does the owl see me? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, so there's the owl. So Veronica has some big news. Do you want to tell them?
Sure. I decided where I'm going to grad school. I'm going to be going to Virginia Tech to work for a PhD in electrical engineering.
All right.
Wow. She's going to be a student of my advisors.
Okay, hi.
So she's going to
Just go to the Super Darn lab down there with Mike Rahanomy and Joe Baker.
Oh, that's
Congratulations.
fantastic.
And she'll have the opportunity, if you want to continue looking at grape traveling atmospheric disturbances and actually compare it with Super Darn measurements.
Oh, wow.
Which would be
Awesome.
So I think that would be a
plant.
really, yeah, I think it's really cool. You can walk into, before you even get to grad school, you kind of know some sort of direction.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really excited.
Yeah.
You should be. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And she got the Bradley Fellowship, which is the fanciest fellowship they can offer her.
That's a good one. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Bill's a Virginia Tech grad.
Oh, very nice. I didn't know that.
Before you go, could I bring up something? Is there any chance of moving this back to 10 o'clock?
Rachel has a 10 o'clock class. That's the conflict right now. Suspect
Right, but
after
when
this semester we can.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
wondering.
Yeah.
So I have
I'm
standing
not opposed to it.
conflict.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I'd put it out there. I've got a standing conflict that isn't going to go away. So I would like to be
Yeah, it
able.
was just this semester. Rachel has a 9 o'clock.
Right.
10
I
o'clock
understood
class.
it was that. So another couple of
7
months.
a.m. here in the West comes early, so 9 or an hour later would be nice.
Yeah, we only got another 4 weeks of this semester, so I suspect that should move. We should be able to move that in May.
That
Thank you.
sounds really good.
And then I have one last question. So I've just been asking a bunch of different people. Does anyone have any like suggestions, what not to do, what to do for I guess PowerPoints and talking to people? Mainly for the convention.
Well, a good way to judge the length of your presentation is about a slide a minute if you're talking about it. So if you give them a 20-minute presentation, you don't want really much more than 20 or 25 slides. At least that's been my experience.
Okay.
Also practice it.
Yeah, go through it a few times with yourself because you'll find that you'll want to change or jot some notes down about each slide. Because once you get in the thick of it, sometimes your mind goes blank and you want to be able to stare down and go, oh yeah, I got to talk about that. So don't be afraid to have a set of notes in front of you for each slide.
Okay.
And I think another good thing is, try to tell a story and connect with your audience a bit. So it's much better to go and have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and almost dialogue with your audience a little bit as you're giving the talk.
Okay. What do you mean by a story? Like,
well, you don't want to just go in and be like, here's this and that, and have it be kind of like a random thing. You want to give some sort of introduction. So you want to motivate what you're doing, tell people why you're doing it. Then you explain what you're doing, or you tell the story, and then you want to have it wrap up at the end. So it has some sort of like an arc to the presentation.
okay.
And practice, I'd say, give it some practice talks. You can certainly come on to either this telecon or one of our other telecons, like the Monday night telecon is a great time to give the practice talk, and we'll give you feedback.
Okay. You guys, are you sure you just don't want to see what I'm talking about firsthand before I get to the convention? Sure that's not the case?
What do you mean?
Whatever. I'm trying to make a joke, and that utterly failed.
Trying to get you to leak information. No. I think this idea, we do this with a number of people on here who are giving presentations. It's really useful to practice the talks and get feedback from the group here, because the Hamvention audience, is going to be much wider than
the audience you have on these telecons. So the audience you have on these telecons are going to have a lot of experience and be able to give you helpful criticism and things like that. And then it'll help you to really polish things up by the time you get to Hamvention.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah.
I think that'll be awesome. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. All right, I better go run, and unless do you want to show them what you're doing, or do you want to just have us, or
Maybe just us today.
okay, sounds good. So I'm gonna say 73, and I will talk to you this afternoon.
7-3. Good luck,
73.
Veronica.
Thank you.
73 all.
73.
Okay, well, it's 11 p.m. over here in Japan, and I will set the alarm for 8 more hours and hopefully be awake early enough in the morning to say good morning or afternoon to anybody. I'm lost over here trying to make the time zones.
Sounds great, John. 7-3.